She's still laughing.
That's so funny. Welcome to 5 Lemons Left. We're the real stuff, the lemons making lemonade. So pucker up, because we're going to be discussing our life's lessons and the nitty-gritty details of our spiritual journeys.
Hey y'all, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Drusilla.
I'm Melissa.
Hello, this is Morgan.
And I'm Penny. Welcome to our podcast today.
Welcome to another episode of 5 Lemons Laughing. This is my favorite way to start a conversation, is with a little bit of a chuckle.
Yeah.
So hopefully today we're going to laugh a lot, because we're talking about proving God, right? What does that even mean? Proving something that you don't see, feel, or touch, or do you? And
well, from A Course in Miracles. Yeah. So A Course in Miracles says that proving God is not approached through the traditional way of seeing things and touching things. It's more through personal experiences, inner transformation, and shifts in perception. Those are shifts in perception from fear to love. Those are the ways that in A Course in Miracles, we go about proving God. There's lots of fun examples, I'm sure, but let's get it a little bit more defined. How else do you all see that the definition of proving God, so that our listeners can fully comprehend what we're going to throw at them today?
Good question. Go ahead. I don't have anything, so you go ahead.
Well, I think it's something that a lot of us have felt. Hopefully all of us have felt. Situations that didn't seem possible, that become possible. People that we didn't think would walk into our lives, that end up walking into our lives and shifting our heart. And synchronicities, which I get all the time. And I also know that for me, when I let go a lot, that's when all these great miracles happen. And I can't think miracles happening any other way than through spirit or through the universe or through God. I can't make those happen. Something else is making those happen.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
I like that.
Yeah.
I would have to agree with everything you said, Melissa. For myself, personally, I can say that. And no, I actually don't feel like I'm proving God, though. I must admit, I have a strong aversion to the words being used together. And I think it has to do with my religious upbringing, that you never challenge God, you never ask for proof of God. And I still do, even in this conversation, though I agree with everything Melissa said, it still feels like it's just personal. So I'm not proving anything. And so that's the aversion for me. If it's just for myself, then there doesn't need to be proof, right? So that's kind of how I look at it. So it's more or less that I'm proving that the concepts can bring me peace, or I can prove that, but it still doesn't prove there's a God. And I don't think that there's anything that can prove that there is a God. And it takes everybody's own personal situation for them to have a knowing. And so that's kind of...
I get what you're saying, Drusilla. I totally understand what you're saying, because I can see where you're coming from, that you don't need to prove God based on your religious upbringing. And then for me, someone who I was raised Lutheran, went to church, Sunday school, Bible school, all the schools, confirmation, all the stuff, baptized, all that stuff. But when I started studying A Course in Miracles, and I was, and then I had a lot of situations in my life, let me just back up a little bit, where I had made people God, like my dad or boyfriends or bosses, and then things didn't turn out so well. So then I began to not really believe that God was maybe that good, because if God was good, then my dad wouldn't be doing what he's doing, or my bosses wouldn't be assholes, or whatever it is. They'd be wonderful people and all would be well. So when I started studying A Course in Miracles, I needed to, rethinking the way that I see spirituality versus religion. I needed to have those little situations where I could say, okay, my intuition or my inner guidance is telling me, you know, I don't know. I'm trying to think of one right now. Like take the garbage out before 8 p.m. And so then I go, no, I don't need to take the garbage out before 8 p.m. And then the garbage truck comes at 8:01 and I don't have the garbage out, or something like that. So then, I miss the garbage. That's not a very good example, but what I'm trying to say is that if I would have taken the garbage out when my inner guidance had told me to, everything would have been like, I would have been able to prove that God was guiding me. So I'm not sure if I'm helping you, if I'm explaining the way that I've used it, but it's like I needed to have those little, in a lot of the literature that I read, and it's not A Course in Miracles, but that as I was developing cultivating my relationship with my higher power, my God, I needed to do small things to trust and have faith that my higher power was there guiding me. And so listening to turn left when I wanted to turn right, and then things all worked out great, actually helped me to build that relationship, if that makes sense. I'm not sure, but that's what I got from what you were saying.
It does. And I can see the parallels. And I think the difference was that I never lost faith. Even though it may be stronger now and it's more personal for me now, but there was never a time that I didn't believe in God and miracles. So, yeah.
That's freaking amazing, Drusilla, because I can't say the same for me. I can't say the same. Yeah.
Okay, so I just have something I would like to add. I love everything that everyone has shared, and I like that we all have different perspectives. But so as we were coming into this episode, and we said that the episode was going to be about proving God, what I was really thinking of it in terms of proving a concept or a spiritual principle, whether it be from A Course in Miracles or from some other spiritual teaching, about God and about the way that he operates. He, she, it, whatever we want to have it, whatever pronoun we want to use for God. But for example, I think of proving God in the sense of proving that God is love, looking for evidence that that is the nature of God, or proving that God does communicate to me, that there is a higher self or Holy Spirit that is communicating with me. And if I can tune into that, proving that that is a real thing and not some made up woo-woo thing, or proving that, like in A Course in Miracles, it says, all things are gently planned by one whose only purpose is my good, looking for evidence that things are working out for good. So I agree with what you said, Drusilla, that we can't really prove God because no one really knows the true nature of God other than to say something like God is love. But that is not a measurable thing, that if we're thinking of it in terms of scientifically, you can't prove God because we don't, our limited human awareness is not capable of even understanding what, who, how, why, when, where God even is. It's like trying to prove love. We all know that love exists, but how can you prove that? You know what I'm saying? So that's sort of the way that my mind was working with this. And I also resonate with what you're saying about it feeling uncomfortable as someone coming from a Christian background, because we're always told to take it on faith. And like, if you question anything in the Bible or whatever spiritual text that doesn't really seem to make sense with you, if the person that is supposed to be the teacher or the one who knows doesn't have a good answer, then that's the default. Like, well, you have to have faith. You just have to trust. And so I love that in A Course in Miracles, we get a whole different picture of God and Christ consciousness. And there's like, it's not a threat to God. It's not an insult to God. It's not like asking for too much to ask for this evidence. Like, it is welcomed. And like, for anyone out there who is maybe an atheist or who doesn't have a clear picture of God or a clear relationship with God, and you want to prove God, like, that's not a sin. You're not going to hell for it. Like, it's okay. And that I love that about A Course in Miracles. So those are all the things that were kind of percolating for me as I was listening to each of you share. I wanted to add to the pot.
That's great, Morgan. I think I looked up what like proving would mean. I want to read this because this really this kind of feels like what I'm thinking about. Proving means demonstrating the truth. So the truth that's already there, God's already there, validity or existence of something through evidence, facts, or just even personal experience. In a spiritual or personal growth context, proving often involves gathering insights or having experiences that make something feel real or undeniable on a personal level, even if it's not empirically verified. So, and I think a lot of people want to have that experience. It's the way to connect to God, to feel something outside of ourselves, to feel a oneness, instead of just having someone tell us you have to have faith. It is almost like a personal, I don't know, a little tap on God's shoulder, some kind of personal experience.
And I think that is, Melissa, it seems to be the connection, like a thread almost. I know when we had the episode on religion before, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but I do feel like the Course takes religion and makes it personal. It doesn't say that it's different. It doesn't say that it's better. It just makes it more personal. And I do agree with the fact that you can still be proving it on a personal level. But again, because I never felt like I needed proof, the Course just made it more intimate for me. It didn't prove it anymore. It just made it more intimate for me.
I like that, Drusilla. And also, I spent a lot of time in Missouri, and like, we're the show me state, right? Like, I want to be it, want to see it. I want to know it. I want to feel it. I want to have it in my life surrounding me, or that's what it takes for me. Like, so when I was thinking of the concept of proving God, I like Morgan's description of what's the evidence that we're collecting. Like, what is it that we're collecting? I think Morgan, someone was talking about the evidence. So I was like, yeah, God is everywhere, right? Like the sunset here in New Mexico, like you look out there and there's proof that God exists. There is, I get to go ride my horse every day. There's proof that, God exists. And like, so proving to me is, God, when Mike and I, it was time to change our stars, like, we're working for God, right? The old James Brown, not James Brown. What is that movie? I'm so bad at this. I'm working for God. The Blues Brothers. Anywho, that's a great movie. Right. So we were like, we're working, we changed everything. Right. And that is collecting evidence. That is, for me, that is working to prove God. And so it shows up just every day in my life because I was listening and trusting. somebody else who was talking about those little steps of learning how to trust, learning the faith, learning all of that gets to being able to see God in everything.
How many years ago did you move, Amanda?
We've been here like six-ish, a little over 6 years. Mm-hmm.
That's plenty of time to get all the evidence you need, isn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, it was at least 4 years before that, like, you know, to me, God was like, move.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
they say that God whispers first and then it gets louder and louder.
Well, I need clear evidence. I couldn't have any ambiguity. It was so clear that it was time to move, that, you know, that was so clear. I had no doubt that those were the next steps to take. And to me, that's God, right? That's nothing else. Like, the evidence is how my life is now. That's a huge personal story for proving God. And also, not to take away from that at all, and there's also all kinds of other things that I know that maybe I do that aren't in my best health, that if I would change certain behaviors, that I might live a more vibrant, healthy life, you know, but I don't know. I would like God to handle that too.
Well, yeah, we're given free will. That's the human experience, is to overcome those things.
Do you think that proving God is building faith?
For me, it is. Or everyone, yeah. I think so. For me, I think proving God, when I think about it even more deeply, I'm thinking more like I'm really proving that everything I believe about God applies to me, and I'm not like the one special bad person that it doesn't apply.
That's my favorite explanation.
Like proving my worthiness, or proving that you know, all of this stuff actually applies to me too. Like, I really am like Drusilla. Like, I don't doubt that there is a God, and what my beliefs they have shifted over the years, but like believing in a God has never like not been a part of that. So I think really for me, that's what it boils down to, what I'm proving. So I want to throw a wrench into the conversation for a second, though, because as human, you get what you're looking for. So if you're looking to prove that there is a God, you'll find evidence for it. And if you're looking to prove that there's not a God, then you'll find evidence for that too. And so what would you say to all the skeptics out there? Like, oh, that's not proof that there's a God. That's just, you know, what do they call it? Echo chamber or confirmation bias at work. So what would you say to that, if anybody has anything?
I do. Go
for it, Amanda.
Yay.
Well, we're proving what's in our mind, right? If we prove that Satan is sitting on our shoulder, whispering, you know, things in our ear, then we're going to prove that, right? Because if we are as God created us, if we are God, if we are the sons of God, that means every thought, every belief is a manifestation of God's word. So whatever is rolling around in our heads is going to manifest out in the outer world. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ask the question again, Morgan.
Okay. So if you're looking for evidence that the COVID vaccine is good for you, you can find it on the internet. If you're looking for evidence that the COVID vaccination is bad for you, you can find it on the internet. So similarly, if you're looking to prove the existence of a God, you can find the evidence for it. If you're looking to disprove the existence of God, you can find the evidence for it. So what would you say to a skeptic who is like just saying like, oh, that's not really proof. That's just your confirmation bias of what you're looking for?
I was going to ask that same question when I was just going to before Melissa talked, and then you asked the question, Morgan. And the reason I was going to pose it was because I don't think there's an answer, because that's proving God to someone else. And that's what I was trying to point in the beginning, that it's personal, because there can't be any other proving to anyone. That's yes. So that was what I was trying to explain.
Yeah. So if you don't want to believe in a world that is like operating from a place of love and everything comes back to love, then you'll experience a world that feels loveless. And that will prove to you that there is no God of love out there. So it's just like,
that's bad. I don't think that's bad. I think that could be somebody's
journey.
Their journey.
Yeah.
Not everyone needs to, it's be on our path, right?
Mm-hmm.
No.
So even if they are there with the devil on their shoulder thinking everything's hateful and horrible, and how am I supposed to know that that's a bad thing?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing about it is, even if they believe that, they believe that a thing as a devil, they also have to believe the opposite, because there would be no point in the other. So there's always light somewhere, right? And that's, so their belief in one, though it may be stronger, so they may experience more of that, they're still going to have the opposite, because there cannot be a consistently dark or evil mind that's 100% that, right? So as Melissa said, it's not a bad thing. Just
I think
like
some people can have no belief in God whatsoever, obviously.
They can. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't have to have an opposite, but it still can be true. And so it only way someone who doesn't believe in God believes there might be a God as an opposite, that's just someone else's belief. Their belief would be there's no God, period. And I just think I don't necessarily think that's bad, if that's the way they think.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that I can agree with that.
Well, you don't have to.
God as a one, maybe, but God as in a descriptor, like to say God, that means you're using it to reference something. Otherwise, it's not a discussion, right? Like if for Morgan's example, she says God is love, everything has an opposite.
Well, of course, Miracle says the opposite of love is fear, but what is all encompassing can have no opposite.
It can't, right? So it's either it's love and fear, or it's God, but that's still all the same.
Yeah.
One dark does not exist without light. And I mean, you can't have one thing if there is no opposition.
Yeah, I understand that. But I do think people who think there is no God
then they have to think something.
No, they don't.
They think that the universe is guided by
nothing. There are people out there who just think it just happens.
Well, the nothing is the not God.
Right, but they wouldn't be thinking that. They would be thinking nothing is nothing. They wouldn't say nothing is the opposite of God.
But it is. It is, literally. If you don't believe in light, that means you believe in darkness.
I don't think.
Well, and if that is the situation, then they're just. Sorry, Melissa. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying we can agree to disagree.
Oh yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
But this is to the point that Morgan asked. This is what they would be saying, or this is the these are real conversations.
Yeah. Well, and like, you don't have to believe in gravity for it to exist and for it to be working. So if someone chooses not to believe in God, we know there's no good or bad in truth. That's in the world of duality. They're just choosing to remain in the world of illusion, in the world of separation for a little bit longer. But, from A Course in Miracles perspective, like, everyone, all will come to know God at some point in the eternal now.
But we believe that because of faith.
Right.
And that's what we're doing, is we're trying to prove that what we have faith in is real to us.
But we have no proof.
But we have no proof.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Like, I see it everywhere, right? Like,
Yes,
to me, it's
agreed.
done.
Mm-hmm.
But like, for me, my choice of God is not the same as what I choose to see is not the same as what you choose to see. And so I have to remind myself that yours is not real because it's not what I see.
Yeah.
And so I do also think even the people who think there's nothing, that is just, operation, a thing moving around. I don't know if they're right or wrong. I believe that there's a universal power because that I look for proof. And I have had proof, but I call it a universal truth. But I don't really know that is. But I have faith that it is.
Mm-hmm.
That'll make your head hurt.
I know.
Well, because it's a real thought, though, because they could say, this person that we're talking about that Morgan mentioned, that you could just as easily believe in magic.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that's how they see it.
Yeah. I think that's one nice thing about my version of God, right?
Are you selling your God, Amanda?
I am not selling my God. My God does not need to be sold. That, like, I'm so comfortable with, like, the world that I'm in, that it's okay for other people to think other things, right? It doesn't, I'm like, good, go for it. God bless you, right? Whatever you want to do with your life, you go do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I need to prove God, or when I have a little like, wonder if that person who doesn't believe in God is right, I look at a tree or my child, and my mother has sent this to me for years. How could there be anything else but God who makes these colors of butterflies and birds and the sky? Like, we all think, well, of course there's something that created that. It's so unbelievably beautiful, and we're also attracted to it. But there are people that don't believe that.
Mm-hmm. So I have a quick story.
Who tells?
That's about believing in God. So I have a dear, dear friend of mine. I will not call her name. We've been friends. We've been friends for over, I would say, about 20 years, maybe. And she's about 20 years older than me. And so we met at a company. We were working together, and she only worked with me for about 30 days, and then she left. But we connected, and we've been going to lunch together for, used to be once a month. Now it's like once or twice every 6 months or so. And so she has a daughter, and our daughter was in a very abusive marriage. It was horrible. And she would say to me all the time, I wish she would die. I wish she would die. Oh my God. this is bad, but yes, he committed suicide.
Oh, wow.
He did. And so the next time I'm talking with her about it, and she said, I know I told you I didn't believe in God, but I prayed that that man would just die, that he would die. And I said, oh, so now I'm guessing you believe in God. She said, no, believes in that foolishness.
Oh, that's good.
Wow, like for some people, you can't prove God. There's such a thing.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah.
That story is a little mind bender too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, who is she praying to? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
The God to release
Magic.
her daughter, right?
Magicians.
Yeah, magic. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And wishing.
So how does anyone here, like, I mean, I've said how I prove my version of God in my life. What about you guys?
I told mine.
Mm-hmm.
Nature.
I think mine is so aligned with Melissa's, that I didn't feel the need to repeat, but the synchronicities, nature, the wonder of it all, what prevents us from having trees grow out of our ears or something crazy? It's all just, there's just real meaning to me of the universe being guided.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think it makes us live our lives differently?
Well,
Sometimes.
I think to go back to your previous question, Amanda, how I prove God is very much like you. I do the scary thing that doesn't make sense by the world's standards, but that feels guided and inspired and terrifying. And I do it anyway, and everything turns out wonderfully. Okay, what was your next question?
How does that influence our lives? So, like, we're, 5 lemons laughing about life. And, like, how has God, proving God, or the concept of building trust and faith influenced our lives? Like, how does our life look different now that, we are where we are, as opposed to however long ago? Like, Drusilla, you said this was a whole lifetime. You knew this.
Yeah. But things are different. Like from a religious standpoint, even though they talk about the oneness, it's not really something they drive home a lot. Mm-hmm. It's more or less sisters and brothers, which still makes it separate. But in studying the course, it does lead me more to seeing everybody as myself, a reflection of myself. And that is a big difference. And driving home forgiveness, that part has been really, really pivotal for me in mending relationships as well. So from religion, so the faith overall has grown stronger because the relationship is much deeper and much more intimate.
Beautiful. I think I just feel a lot more peaceful a lot more of the time.
Yeah, I was going to say the same, similar thing, like calmer, more at peace,
less fear, more gratitude,
more patient, more kind, more loving.
Mm-hmm. Just like that, knowing that everything's going to be all right.
Yes.
Yeah, mostly. I mean, I fall off the horse and forget that, think that I'm in control. But then I get back on the horse and we ride into the sunset.
With God.
With God. Yeah. With God. Yeah.
Do you think that it was like our willingness to actually look and to prove whatever version of God, like to actually to go out there and prove it? Do you think that's what one of the, like the big change in our lives is, the act of proving it?
For me, I think it's just surrounding myself with like-minded people. I think that's what's helped me to really increase my trust and faith. because when I'm around a community of like-minded individuals, it's much easier to stay on the path and to, and to know that I have the support, that when I'm struggling, I can go to any one of you and say, hey, this God thing, I don't think it's true anymore. I need some help. And you all would be there for me, So I think that's what helps me to stay on the path.
And to our community of listeners out there, we want to hear from you. Like, do you set out to prove God? Like, what does that look like for you? Please let us know. If you're one of our friends, you already have our contact information, text us, email us. I think you can go to our website too. Penny will give all that information at the end, but reach out to us and leave comments so we know what you're thinking. We would love to engage in this conversation with you guys.
Anything else about this deep topic?
It's so funny. I thought it was going to be so simple. I'm like, no, of course, God. What?
We went into the deep end.
Let's talk about proving God.
Oh, that's easy. Yeah,
that's easy.
Yeah, it's a subject that I think we're barely scratching the surface, and we're all on the path. So it'd be really interesting if there was somebody here that wasn't. I mean, Melissa tried to play that role, but yeah. So does anybody have anything coming up? Then I think we'll wrap this puppy up, put a big bow on it, and send it out to the world. So thank you so much to all of you that have tuned in today for the 5 Lemons Laughing, where we are taking on spiritual topics and hoping to make them a little bit more digestible. I think that's what we're, breaking them down into small pieces so we can all digest what this spiritual journey is all about. So if you want to reach out to us, like Amanda has inspired you to do, please, you can go to 5 Lemons Laughing. That's 5, F-I-V-E, lemonslaughing.com, and you can send a message or any of the podcast platforms. Like us, follow us. Let us know what else you'd like to hear about A Course in Miracles and anything on your spiritual journey. So with that, we appreciate you. We love you. Keep the faith. Keep looking for those, if you need to. Keep looking for those beautiful things in nature that can show you that God truly does exist. And you don't have to do anything. Just look. So thanks so much for listening. You all have a beautiful rest of your day.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.